What's going on, guys? Welcome to the RB Talks, Real Business Talks, powered by BMG. In the back today, I have a very special guest today. One of my good, amazing friends, Miguel Barbosa. Miguel, thank you so much for being here, man.
Bro, thank you for the invite.
No.
I know it's been a couple of weeks that we've been trying to get together.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to talk actually about a lot of things that these last 2 or 3 weeks that have not allowed this to happen, and for it to happen the way that it did, based on our conversations that we were having outside.
Yep.
I definitely want to pick up on those because I think we were talking about a lot of really important things, and a lot of things that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to speak about with other people. So if we can, share something that someone else can resonate with, or, if someone else can put themselves in their shoes and learn from anything that we talk about today, that's my biggest thing, man. And I'm very confident that.
No,
that we'll do
100%.
that.
And I think the conversations that we were having actually earlier is something that we should have had on camera, but something that we can definitely pick up. Well, Miguel, just to start off the podcast, man, I wanted to ask you, who is Miguel? Who's the person? How was it growing up? How was your life growing up? Where are you from?
Yeah. So Miguel Barbosa, I am a 32-year-old, born and raised in Northern California, Manteca, California. I moved here to AZ back in 2018. Had a pretty normal childhood, not anything too crazy. I was fortunate enough to have both my parents, obviously lower income, but always saw my parents hustling, and it taught and instilled a lot of work ethic in me. But again, nothing really too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew from a young age that I was different in the sense of my approach to things. I followed rules, but at the same time, I would always like to bend them. I was always looking to be creative. I was always looking and seeking bigger opportunities. Ultimately, what that's done is that's allowed me to now eventually grow up to be an entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, a new husband, a father, and ultimately just Miguel's trying to be a better leader every single day, man, and always a student of the game, if you will.
No, man, I freaking love that, and I love that you said a student of the game. That's something that I think people that are successful or trying to become successful, that is maybe building their business or maybe doing some type of economic growth for their life, is always being a student, right? Someone that maybe has this mindset of like, hey, I already know everything, is a person that is not going to succeed. What do you think? Yeah,
well, so I definitely feel like there is opportunity for people to succeed.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like it's a bottleneck, right? So if you stop learning, and if it's something that you can't provide value to, your clientele or your customer, someone else is going to continue to learn, and that skill or that knowledge that you don't have, your client or your friends or whoever it is that's seeking that help from you is going to eventually go and have to seek it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I definitely think not being a student of the game definitely puts a cap on your potential.
No, 100%, and even your growth, And Miguel, something that I wanted to pivot into, or something that I want to talk about is, you and I, we're Hispanics. We grew up in that mentality of that we have to hustle, we have to work hard. And a lot of the Hispanic community, we go into maybe businesses such as construction, such as landscaping. Did any of these type of businesses have an intake in your life? Or did maybe your parents or maybe family members have maybe something that related to you that you're like, hey, maybe your first years of high school, you went into those businesses, eventually you're like, hey, maybe I think this is not for me?
Yeah, no, so again, I was fortunate enough to grow up with both of my parents, but I always saw them working, right? Like, so my dad always had some sort of laborious jobs, just like, a lot of Hispanic dads.
Yeah.
My mom, obviously, she always worked as well. I feel like this correlates, but like I was very used to seeing like a lot of arguments surrounding money.
Gotcha.
Combined with the mix of working hard. So it's like it almost creates this confusion, and I feel like it's a confusion that a lot of us grow up feeling, is you see your parents working so hard to make money,
Yeah.
but yet there's still no money, right? So it's like it's one of those things where eventually we start to grow up and feel like that's a norm, right? I need to bust my ass, I need to bust my ass, I need to go to construction, or I need to do this. Like, I remember for the longest time, like my end goal was, if I can just become a journeyman, if I can just make $35 an hour, $40 an hour, like my life's gonna be great, and that's not the case. And I went into a construction job, right? I left sales to go back into construction because that's what I thought was gonna be my escape. And I mean, ultimately, it led me back into the sales side of things. So, yeah, man, I definitely think that, especially in the Hispanic community, we have this big notion of you always have to bust your ass, and that's the only way to make money. I feel like one of the biggest things that we've lacked, and a big reason why I have a lot of these guys, I know you guys can't see them here in the camera, but the reason why we've been trying to actively grow the team with Spanish speakers and other Hispanics is to be able to, share the knowledge that that we've learned and that we've gathered over the last few years, and actually give back to push our people ahead and show other people, that there is other ways to make money and and be successful.
No, 100%, man, and I totally, I sympathize with exactly what you were saying. There's sometimes growing up, a lot of us, especially I would say even Hispanics, that we go through a situation where you see both of our parents working, they're arriving late at night, they're leaving super early in the morning. We don't get to see them. Hey, like for me personally, one of the things where like I never got to see my dad go see a soccer game, and
Bro.
that's something that I'm gonna do when I have kids, is go and check out their soccer games of my kids, And I'm not saying that my parents are at fault, because at that time that's the only thing that they could do. They're trying to provide for their family. So us as Hispanics, I feel like we definitely go through that situation. And I mean, now that we're business owners, now we have that all of our own systems, we're able to actually pivot and do a change, as well as mentioning that you were going from sales and then back to construction and sales again. Was there something that you had to unlearn from construction going into sales, that you're saying like, hey, maybe I'm working too hard and that's not gonna generate me that much money? Was there something, a trait or a skill that you had to unlearn from construction, pivoting into sales?
I wouldn't say that there was something that I had to relearn.
Yeah.
And I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, because I've met, like, I know a ton of smart people in a ton of different fields.
Yeah.
But it just so happened the people that I was working with were not the brightest people.
Got it.
And it was one of those things where, I mean, I still don't consider myself the brightest either, especially at that time. But I was just like, man, I'm working with guys that don't have licenses. I'm working with guys that have, felonies and, don't plan on doing anything else with their life,
Of course.
right?
Comfortable.
Exactly. Like, I'm working this position with all these other people that just kind of seem to fall into this bucket, right? And I did the same fucking thing when I was 18, bro.
Yeah.
When I was 18, I graduated from high school, and I moved to Carruthers, right on the outside of Fresno, and I went to go work in the fields. Wow. 18 years old, I just fucking graduated. Speak English, speak Spanish, have a high school education, have a citizenship.
Wow.
And I went to go work in the fields.
Wow.
And again, same thing. I had that little realization of, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here? And again, each job has its people for it. Some of those people, they might be on a better path than I am right now, right? Like, I never judge someone. Ultimately, like, that's where they're gonna end up or be forever. But at that point in time, I felt like I was with people that were going nowhere and had nothing to offer me, even a skill set.
Gotcha.
Right? Because even the skill set, these people didn't want to teach it to me because I spoke English and Spanish.
Wow.
They didn't want me to move up.
Wow.
Right? And you look at the type of industries that we're in now, we were just having this conversation.
Yeah.
In these types of fields and industries, you hang out with people that want you to level up, that literally will do everything in their power to help you level up.
Yes.
And it's crazy that down here at the quote unquote bottom, everyone wants to keep each other down.
Yeah.
And over here, everyone's trying to hand out a hand to see
up,
how you can grow.
Yeah.
So I think if there's one thing that I learned from that is that there's such a difference in realities. And I think a lot of it has to do with mindset, stress, day-to-day, living, right? It's a lot different.
Yeah.
So
no, man, and you hit a very, very good point too, as well, as where people, I mean, jealousy comes into play, envy comes into play, where they're like, hey man, well, I don't want to see you better than me because I'm being lazy, but I don't want to see you being better than me,
Yeah.
And that plays into big roles. So that's why we were talking about in the podcast before too, about creating your new normal, being around and surrounding yourself by a different circle from people that you actually know that you're going to succeed with them. You want to be around that circle of people like, hey man, if I'm succeeding, I know that you're going to succeed with me. It's not, we were just talking about earlier, is that it's not only about you winning, it's about winning and your whole team is winning with you. Because there's nothing, I feel like there's no happiness in where you're just winning and you're seeing all your other friends or homies just, how do you say, grinding, hustling. They're trying,
in magnitudes.
Yeah, exactly.
In magnitudes, absolutely.
And you just now come in and now like, hey man, you're winning. My guy's making this amount of money. He just broke new records. I think that's a super, super good point. And pivoting into the conversation too as well, man. I know that, like you were mentioning, there's sometimes people trying to drag you down. Was there ever a situation that you recall that you were in a very low point in your life that, thanks to that point, you actually skyrocketed on top? You're like, hey, after this point in my life, I was in a very low point, but I actually went and learned from it and grew from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it was actually someone that had kind of burned me.
Yeah.
And so it was around the time when you and I had first met.
Yeah.
So
that was around what year we would say, like 2023, 2022, something like that, right? Yeah.
And I was still doing insurance
Yeah.
sales, right? And it was my first year where I had like really crushed it at that time.
Yeah.
It was my first time I had like a little savings
Gotcha.
in there. And I had about $30,000 saved up.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like at this point, like me leaving my job to work for KV and build out Nasty Violent, like all that was barely coming into fruition. Mm-hmm. But at that point, like this was my safety net. This was like everything that I had to show the work that I put in.
Gotcha.
Right. And I was new to investing still, and I invested that money into something that unfortunately, I don't want to call it a scam, but ultimately the guy burned me, right? And I was out, I had my first loss.
No way.
My first loss. And I had been down. I had other points in my life to where I was, depressed at one point, broke, have money, and then, lost money, like, just like everyone else,
Yeah,
right?
ups and downs, right?
Going through that roller coaster. But the biggest thing that I learned from there, which I think allowed me to catapult, is I became very desensitized to money, right? Especially, again, if your goal is to make more money, you have to desensitize yourself to it, right? You can't be scared and want to hold all of it, but then you also can't be completely like, hey, oblivious to the fact that if I spend all this money, there's a possibility that there might not be money next month, right? So I think that in itself is probably one of the biggest things that I can say, attributes to that.
Wow, man. No, that's absolutely just mind-blowing, someone that maybe was close to you, someone that you trusted, and then just out of nowhere, boom, just all the money that you worked for so many years, for a long time, just seeing it disappear I feel like it's things that forge our character and make us the people that we are today, I want to talk as well about, I know that you were into bodybuilding, correct? Mm-hmm. So I know that bodybuilding, just like anything else, any other sport, any other business, there is some type of discipline that goes into it. I imagine eating, dieting, going and doing your exercises. Was there something that you learned a lot from bodybuilding that you transferred into your business as well? Yeah,
so the biggest thing that I had learned is obviously the consistency, right? Gotcha. One, the consistency, the growth, the coming down, the going back up. So for me, the bodybuilding that I was doing, it was a certain category, but what you're essentially doing is you're going in, you're trying to get as lean as possible, and then you're going out to objectively be judged by strangers on the last 12 to 16 weeks of work that you've put in, right?
Yeah.
Now, at times, yes, is there an obvious winner? Absolutely, right? But when you get down to, the top 3 people and they all look good, they all, have their own attributes, you're essentially leaving it up to, these judges based on what they're feeling that day to say, hey, like this person's the winner.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
And one thing I think coincidentally fits is like steroids, right?
Yeah.
Like steroids in bodybuilding is very common. Like I did my first cycle when I was 21 years old.
No way.
Yeah, I did my first cycle because I wasn't as competitive as I wanted to be.
Gotcha.
And it was one of those things that at the time, and even now, I guess it's not as frowned upon anymore, like with peptides and everything coming out.
Becoming,
But at that time, it was very frowned upon, and it was, considered the cheat.
Yeah.
And tying it back into business, I had never really thought about it until like right now. We'll classify steroids like as cheating,
Okay.
right? Or taking
Okay.
a shortcut,
Yeah.
if you will.
Okay.
Doing bad business,
Yeah.
right? Bodybuilding, if you want to build a crazy physique, it's going to take you this long, right? If you want to take shortcuts, it's going to take you this long, right?
Gotcha.
Now those shortcuts come with risks,
Yeah.
right? All the side effects from, high blood pressure, acne, gyno, like all these different side effects.
Consequences.
It's applicable in business as well.
Gotcha.
If this business is going to take this long to build, and you have to take each step of the way to get there, but somewhere in that middle you want to cheat, there can be a consequence that comes down the road.
Gotcha.
And longevity-wise,
Yeah.
bro, like one thing that people never talk about, and I don't even share this that much, it took me a while to fix myself after because I had fucked myself up.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it so wrong, and I thought I had guidance, and ultimately I didn't. And that's that long game that you end up playing because you wanted to take a shortcut.
That makes sense.
Right? So when you integrate that into the business, if hey, this is my end goal, I know that I have to build up, I have to really, really grind, put on all this muscle and do everything now.
Yep.
So that way I can eventually polish and taper everything down to this final product, right? It's the same concept. If somewhere down the middle, you toss something in there to make a shortcut, or you think you're gonna make it better by gypping someone or whatever it is,
Yeah.
there's that consequence that follows. There's that side effect.
That makes total sense, and something that exactly like how you're mentioning it, but I say it in a way of like you're putting the foundations and the pillars of your business, and if maybe you're trying to cheat, it's just like a foundation in any building, right? The cement that you're gonna put. If you're not gonna put the correct cement or the correct foundation, eventually one day happens, there's gonna be an earthquake, there's gonna be a problem, it's gonna fall, and that's totally makes sense, man, and it just makes so much a difference, I would say, from how creating a solid business goes into,
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree, man.
guys, I wanted to talk about something super big that we're gonna have too as well. X-Pro events, Miguel. I'm super excited for this, man. This is going to be in August, correct?
Yes.
Talk to us, talk to the audience. What is X-Pro? What can we expect? Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I can't wait.
No, so I'm very excited as well. You actually showed up to our last event.
Yep, Miami.
You
Amazing.
showed up in Miami with a couple of your guys,
Yep.
Juan. Was it
Lalo,
and was it Mario too?
Yeah, it was a couple of friends.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So basically what our X-Pro Domination Conference is it is a business mastermind and wealth mastermind combined into one, right? Now, it's not your traditional mastermind in the sense to where you're going in and you're just hearing someone talk about, sales or one specific topic. You're going in and we're breaking everything down from operations, scalability, profitability, and everything on the business aspect as well. But the thing that we're also going to talk about is not only how you make the money in the business, but then ultimately how you keep it and actually multiply it, right? Because that's the biggest thing when it comes to business owners, right? Oftentimes you have business owners that essentially go into business to ultimately just pay bills.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
Literally, yeah, payroll, everything.
yeah, even their own expenses,
Yeah.
right? There's oftentimes not always something that you can pass down to the next generation.
Exactly.
Right? Now, what the smart and wealthy do is if they own a business, they implement tax strategies, trust structures, different approaches to multiply that money, and then also be able to pass it down generation to generation. And that's that bridge that we're actually gonna, or that's that gap that we're gonna bridge at the Domination Conference. And our approach to it's very different, right? So again, it's not just going up there and just hearing one person speak. We're gonna be having the Sharks up there, Kevin O'Leary, Robert
Yes.
Herjavec, Damon
The
John.
speakers, man.
So, people that have been in this industry a long, long time, people like Mark Wahlberg, right? But again, it's not just listening to them, but it's us talking about business and then integrating the conversation with said guest speaker,
Of course,
to see how it ties back in.
I mean, all the experience too of these guys had implementing it into your business,
Exactly.
everything is, guys, it's gonna be one of the best events. What dates is it? August 13th
So
to
it's
the
going to
15th?
be August 13th through the 15th at the Caesars Forum in Las Vegas. One thing that we're actually doing this year that's going to be very cool for you ladies is on the 16th, we're having a women's only event. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the owner of Skims that's going to be speaking at that event, and then also a couple other of our ladies. From what I understand, it's going to be a spa day, business talk. So if you guys happen to see me in a wig and trying to make my way in there, just let me do my thing. But no, it's going to be great because obviously the reality is there's a lot of new women business owners. And
definitely.
And women own businesses. And women are coming up, right?
100%.
If anything, I think I've read stuff where they surpass men. So we definitely want to make sure that that we're talking to everyone, and then also too learning, right? Like, I expect to learn from being in that room if I'm allowed in it. Because we've been able to meet a lot of really successful women entrepreneurs in our business space.
100%.
So I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, right now, I do real estate right now. I'm a real estate advisor here in Phoenix, and there's like around 30 to 40% where just single women are actually buying property. So guys, women's are coming up. Ladies, come to this event that we're gonna have over here at Expo. It's gonna be once in a lifetime event. I'm gonna give you a little bit of my, when we went to Miami on Expo last year, man, that was an event that changed our lives and a lot of my friends. For example, Eduardo, he literally was 16 plus his business ever since he went to it. We started scaling, he got closers, he got more installers for his business. Guys, this event will change your life. Now, Miguel, I wanted to talk and leave the best part to the end, and I wanted to talk about private equity and from what you do and explain it a little bit to the audience too as well. Maybe to someone that's never heard that term, or someone that wants to get into it, or people that are studying right now in college and want to get into it. Can you explain a little bit what you do, what do you guys do, and with AMI, with AmRinder, and what's like the whole business? Yeah,
so private equity, for those people that are new to the space, what you're essentially doing is you're buying a business, you're scaling the business, and then you're exiting, right? It's a 3-step process in theory, right? And it's a lot easier said than done. So what we do at our company, Camboge Ventures, we're a private equity and acquisitions company. So we specialize in alternative investments and full service wealth planning, right? So again, not just about how much money you can make, but how much of that you can actually keep,
Gotcha.
right? And I will say it that there is no other returns out there like private equity, right? If you go on social media and you see these, those videos when those guys go up to all those people and say, hey, what do you do for work? You have a nice car.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, private equity or sales, right?
Exactly.
So what we do is we open the door to investors that are looking to go outside of the norms when it comes to investments, outside of the traditional IRA, S&P 500 stocks. And what we do is, again, we give them that foot in the door into private equity deals that normally would require millions or billions of dollars of capital.
Yeah.
And we open the door for our accredited investors to invest into certain projects with us and be able to scale it. So I always like to use the analogy, especially for people that are familiar with real estate. Is if you think of a fix and flip, right?
Exactly.
You go and you're buying a property, just like you're going and buying the business. Maybe it's a fixer-upper, you put some money on the back end, you have investors that are going into it.
With you as well, yep.
You build up the business or you build up the house, and then you put it back on the market and you sell it.
Literally.
Right? In real estate, generally it's 4 to 6 months of flip.
Yep, around that.
In private equity, you're normally looking at 4 to 6 years.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
So it's a lot longer of a hold or an investment, but the returns are a lot bigger as well.
No, I imagine. I mean, if you're holding a whole business for around 4 to 6 years, I'm super sure you guys are implementing systems. You guys are maybe hiring new people. You guys have to see analysis before even acquiring the business, which was actually my next question to you. What makes your company buy other companies? Is there something specific that maybe a business needs to have before you guys start contemplating and purchasing a business? Is there something specific that you guys see in?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things that we look at is stability and consistency.
Gotcha.
Right? If this company is doing a certain amount of revenue every single month, we know that if we invest our money into it and we take it over, we can continue that said revenue.
That makes sense.
Right? Now, where it gets fun is, sometimes we might purchase an acquisition or a store, right? Because we're super heavy in e-commerce. We might purchase a store that's worth $1 million, right? And it's valued at $1 million, and it's a great store that's crushing it. But the people might not have access to the line of capital that we have. So now you take something like e-commerce, right? You plug in private equity money behind it, right off the bat, just by taking over. If you can plug more money into the actual orders themselves, your margins are better.
100%. I mean, already injecting it. Yeah.
Exactly. Most of the people that sell on Amazon, for you guys that aren't familiar, there's two models, right? There's Amazon FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon, or there's Amazon FBM, fulfillment by merchant, right? So what we do majority is FBM. Right, so we own our own warehouses. We work with 3PL companies.
Gotcha.
We have a fulfillment team, right? So anything that Amazon tries to take in terms of profits, we mitigate that.
Gotcha.
Right. So if a store again is doing $60,000 a month in revenue, but their margins are being slashed in half because of all these Amazon fees.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we know just by taking it over, we can get rid of that and we increase our profitability instantly.
By just that percentage, exactly. Just by cutting it.
And then because with e-commerce, the way that our infrastructure works, when we get acquisition to when we sell back equity to where if equity doesn't sell, it goes into a separate pool of stores that we have, we're able to make sure that we're funneling money into these stores. So that way we're consistently generating a profit. And then the beauty is that as investors are coming in, they're making a percentage, right? We're making a percentage. It's win-win. But the big picture is that allows us to continue to get acquisitions and grow our portfolio, right? So one thing that's huge is a roll-up strategy, right? If you own, we'll call it a car wash, and I own a car wash. Your car wash is called Burrito Car Wash, mine's Barbosa Car Wash.
Yeah.
And then we have another friend, he owns a car wash. Well, say we're all doing $500,000, right? Independently, if we try to sell it, we're gonna get a lot less as opposed to where if we merged it, that's where mergers and acquisitions come in, right? And we bundle everything into one.
Yeah.
One, our valuation goes up and our multiplier goes up, right? So it's all these different strategies that go in on the back end to increase the valuation as high as possible. And again, that's where you make a big chunk of your money.
That makes
We're
sense.
making money throughout the way, but where the big money comes is when we go and we sell it off to someone even bigger than us.
Exactly. Man, that's absolutely insane. And when I heard the term private equity, I've always like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? And I mean, man, ever since that you got into it, I've been reading, I've been getting into it, I've been seeing a lot. And man, private equity, it's a whole other world. It's a whole other world, man. People take up like public markets, man. Going into private equity is whole nother level. So, and I believe any person can invest into the company as well, right? Or do you guys have a minimum?
Yes and no. So we have a few different types of investments. We have a few different types of lending options. So whenever you're dealing with private equity and certain types of funds, normally you do have to be an accredited investor.
Gotcha.
So you either have to have a net worth of $1 million or make, I believe it's $250,000 a year or $300,000 combined household income.
Gotcha.
Which, again, if someone isn't at that point right then and there, we have other strategies and we have other things that we can implement to eventually help someone become an accredited investor and then start investing into those bigger projects.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And you guys still have, I believe, your 5% model as well?
Correct.
Perfect. That model, if you can explain it a little bit to them too, it's one of the best models too as well, if you want to explain a little bit too.
So for the sakes of SEC compliance, I can't publicly disclose it.
We're going to edit this out. I forgot.
But if you guys are interested,
Yeah.
and if that in itself sparks some interest,
We got more models that we can't explain here in person and the camera. But guys, if you want to hit Miguel up with Camboge, guys, there's so much else that we can do. Miguel, thank you so much. Just to finalize, man, for all the audience that are a little bit more younger, that they're barely maybe building their businesses, people that maybe have a 9 to 5 but eventually want to build their business, what's a point or a key advice that you want to give out there that you want to maybe influence someone right now?
Yeah, I would say do it. Definitely do it. Write out your goals. Be very clear with what you want, and be open to all the changes that come with that, right? So you can have one clear goal. Ironically, mine was e-commerce, right? Like
Yeah.
I think I had mentioned I got into e-commerce selling myself. I was an Amazon FBA, and I had this mindset of, hey, I'm gonna make all this money through e-commerce. It just so happened that the road that I was taking still led me to e-commerce. It just took me in a different path,
Yeah.
which is what I'm doing right now. But if you write out your goals, and if you manifest with intention, so not just hope for it and expect it to happen, but hope for it and visualize it and actually put effort forth to it, I think ultimately achieving that goal is inevitable, right? Go out there. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't think that you're ever in the wrong rooms. If you feel like you belong in a certain place or in a certain room, show up like that person that deserves to be in there. And eventually you're gonna find yourselves in those rooms very consistently. Now, another thing too that I do wanna mention, just because we had talked about it earlier,
Yeah.
about closed-minded people holding you down, dragging you down. I know we had talked about being in rooms with people that are at a much higher level, so
Yep.
that way you can learn with them. It doesn't always have to be like that though too, right? Like you can have someone else that has that same mindset with you that hasn't built something yet, and those are the people that you can really build something with
That
together
partnership,
as well.
no?
That
Yeah,
partnership.
exactly.
So if you guys have people that are in your circle that you feel very, very tight with, definitely explore those options. But definitely don't be surprised too when, as you're building that, if you lose friends or if
definitely.
you see people's true colors, if envy comes out, you essentially have to learn how to manage your emotions, because it does get tricky, right? Whether it's emotions that you're dealing with yourself internally or emotions that you're dealing with, externally from other sources. But as long as you stay focused and again, you visualize it and you see it happening and you make an effort, whether it takes a year, whether it takes 5 years, eventually you will get to your goal.
Oh man, Miguel, thank you so much once again, man. Like I said, we hadn't seen each other for some time, and I think this was perfect time just to catch up. Guys, I'm gonna leave all the social media so you guys can follow Miguel down here as well for Nasty Violent. Man, I love Nasty Violent, man.
Thank you, bro.
I can't wait for the next drop. And for all my people that do mixed martial arts, Miguel owns Nasty Violent, this company that's amazing, amazing merch for all my boxers, kickboxers, martial arts. Go check it. I'm gonna leave a link as well down below for all the Camboge guys that are here too as well. Thank you so much. BMG for powering this podcast, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Miguel, once again, thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. This was
It's
fun.
amazing. Thank you
This
so
was
much.
fun, bro.
Thank you guys. Take care.